"Wake up, William," Ryan's mom said softly, nudging him awake. It was Thanksgiving, and she had an early start in the kitchen to prepare the enormous meal she made every year. Ryan tried to ignore her, hoping she'd leave him to sleep. "I need some help in the kitchen," she said, not catching the hint. "Will you help in exchange for this?" Curious, Ryan rolled over and opened his eyes, focusing on a gift wrapped up in front of him. They didn't usually exchange gifts on Thanksgiving, so he was puzzled. But still, he sat up and took the gift, unwrapping it carefully. Inside was a plain brown box. When he opened the box, he found black clothing on top. Surprised, he picked up the item. As he pulled it up, he realized it wasn't something he'd expect for a boy. It was a dress, a simple black uniform dress with white trim. He looked at his mother, confused, and placed it back in the box, a little less neatly than before. "No thanks," Ryan said, leaning back down into bed. "You left your laptop unlocked a few weeks ago," she replied calmly. "With some unexpected websites in clear view." Ryan's heart skipped a beat. Was he really that careless? His mother continued, "If your grades don't improve, there will be consequences. You can wear this and we can tell people it's a punishment for bad grades, or I'll tell everyone that you want to dress like a girl. It's your choice." Ryan felt his pulse quicken. It didn't feel like a choice at all, it felt like blackmail. He sat up, taking the dress back out of the box. This time, he studied it more carefully. It was a smart, professional black dress, with a white Peter Pan collar and short sleeves with white trim. The A-line skirt reached below the knee, and the neckline was modest. Despite himself, Ryan felt a strange pull to it, even though it wasn't something he'd usually choose. But in this moment, it seemed like the safest option. "I don't know what you're thinking, but let's be clear, you don't really have a choice," his mom said, standing over him. Ryan, still processing, nodded reluctantly. He realized that refusing wouldn't only expose his secret but might also lead to worse consequences. "Now, go get cleaned up," his mom instructed, directing his attention to the other clothes laid out below the dress, a simple black underwear set, black pantyhose, and a box of black kitten heels. "Shower and shave, then get dressed," she added, her tone final. "I'll be up soon." Ryan obeyed, taking his time in the shower and shaving. Afterward, he began to dress in the outfit he had imagined wearing many times before. The tight black underwear with lace trim, a matching black bra, and the black pantyhose felt smooth against his skin. Getting the bra on was tricky, but eventually, he managed. The dress, made from crisp polyester cotton, was elegant yet simple. It was feminine without being over the top. He pulled it over his head, smoothing out the skirt and straightening the bodice. Ryan struggled to pull the zipper up the back of the dress. Almost fully dressed now, he was starting to get caught up in the moment, forgetting why he was even given the chance to dress this way in the first place. That is, until the frustration of the behind-the-back zipper and tight-fitting bodice snapped him back to reality. "This is impossible," he muttered under his breath. At that moment, there was a knock at the door, causing his heart to skip a beat. Before he could react, his mom walked in. Ryan sighed with relief, thankful it was just her and not someone else, though he knew everyone else in the house would probably still be asleep. "Let me help you, dear," his mom offered as she walked over to zip up the dress. Ryan stood frozen, unsure of how his mom might react to him dressed in a maid outfit, even though it was her idea. He felt the dress tighten around his body, and once it was fastened, it felt very neat and proper. His mom circled around him, smoothing out the skirt and checking for imperfections before handing him the kitten heels with a satisfied smile. Ryan, feeling a sense of calm he hadn't expected, slid his feet into the shoes, growing half an inch taller. The look felt complete, and surprisingly, he liked it. But one thought lingered: if I couldn't get the zipper done up, could I undo it? With a beaming smile, his mom said softly, "Perfect. Now, let's get to work," and started to walk away. Ryan, still trying to process everything, reached behind him, stretching to grab the zipper, but to no avail. "Stop that," his mom said, turning her head over her shoulder. You're not getting out of this, even if you could take that dress off on your own. Ryan felt trapped, not only in the dress but also by his mom's blackmail threat. He lowered his head and silently followed her, resigned to the situation. Maybe if they worked together, they could get everything done before anyone else woke up. Once downstairs in the kitchen, Ryan felt much more exposed than he had in his room, and the sound of his heels on the hard floor seemed to echo through the house. His mom handed him a pink floral apron to add some color to the outfit, giving it a bit more of a feminine touch. As he moved around the kitchen, the skirt brushed against his legs, and he slowly began to relax, feeling oddly comfortable. His mom showed him how to prep the food, and soon he was engrossed in peeling and cutting vegetables. That was when his sister, Zoe, came downstairs. Usually, she would go right to the TV, but the sight of someone unfamiliar in the kitchen caught her attention. She got close enough to see who it was before Ryan even realized she was there. "Oh my God, Ryan, is that you?" Zoe called out. Ryan's heart raced, and his body froze. His mom responded calmly, without missing a beat, "He's being punished for his grades not improving." The conversation that followed seemed like a blur to Ryan as the two girls talked about him as if he wasn't even there. In the end, Zoe seemed convinced it was a punishment, and why wouldn't she be? What other reason could there be? She turned to leave the kitchen while Ryan went back to cutting vegetables. However, as she was almost done, Zoe paused and thought aloud. Does he need a new school uniform, then? You know, until Christmas? Zoe, what are you talking about? Their mom replied, not quite understanding. Well, if he's dressed as a girl because his grades are low and he won't have better grades until Christmas, won't he need a new school uniform? Zoe explained, as if it were perfectly logical. Ryan stopped cutting the vegetables abruptly, turning his head to gauge his mom's reaction. It was clear she hadn't thought of that. In the silence, Zoe continued, thinking her mom hadn't understood. If it's just a one-time thing, and everything goes back to normal tomorrow, doesn't that mean his punishment ends? Well, yes, of course, their mom replied, unsure how to answer without risking Zoe discovering the real reason Ryan was in the dress. She also hadn't realized, in that moment, that she had inadvertently agreed that Ryan would stay dressed as a girl until his grades improved. Just as she hesitated, Zoe added, so, if Ryan's still going to be dressed as a girl tomorrow, he'll need a new school uniform. Their mom was trying to catch up with Zoe's thought process. She had prepared what she thought was a foolproof explanation for the family, but this was something she hadn't anticipated. Before she could respond, Zoe turned and cheerfully said, "He can borrow my old clothes." Both Ryan and his mom were stunned by what had just happened. "Please, don't make me go to school as a girl tomorrow," Ryan pleaded. "It's either that, or your secret's about to come out," she said, her gaze drifting to where Zoe had just been standing. "Besides, it would be nice if your grades improved," she added with a smile. Zoe quickly returned, carrying a pile of disorganized school clothes, mostly shirts and skirts. She had recently gotten a new uniform, leaving last year's in the bottom of her closet. The clothes would likely fit Ryan, who had a similar build to Zoe, though he was slightly shorter. "They'll need to be ironed," their mom commented, eyeing the wrinkled clothes. Zoe looked Ryan up and down, still in his maid dress, and quipped, "I think she's already dressed for the occasion." Once the food was cooking and there was nothing left to do in the kitchen, Ryan was made to start ironing Zoe's new skirts and feminine cut shirts. As she held up a shirt to check for creases, their mom remarked, "Sorry, but I only got you black bras." Ryan stared at the white shirt for a few seconds before realizing why that could be a problem. The following week at school was difficult for Ryan, but the idea that it was a punishment held up. After a few days, he struck a deal with his mom. If he had to wear girls' clothes longer than the punishment for low grades justified, then he should be allowed to choose them. Feeling guilty for putting him in such a position, his mom agreed. In the weeks that followed, Ryan went shopping with his mom and took an active role in choosing his new wardrobe. He moved away from basic black and white underwear and embraced bright pinks. The bras he picked were noticeably larger than the modest ones his mom had originally bought. The teasing at school became less of an issue as time passed, eventually fading away. The next phase of Ryan's plan was to make sure the punishment continued. He convinced his mom to switch the criteria so he would remain as a girl if his grades improved. He even persuaded her to allow him to wear stockings and garter belts instead of tights. This new arrangement meant Ryan needed to involve his teachers. They were willing to give him poor grades on paper while secretly providing the actual grades on the side. They could already see the benefits of Ryan dressing as a girl. His grades and behavior had improved. By Christmas, Ryan had started focusing on his feminine appearance. He began waist training, which drew a different kind of attention from boys who had become so accustomed to Ryan as a girl that they had forgotten all about him as Ryan. If you appreciated this story and wish to show your support, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to my channel.